Got two reasons why I cry away each lonely night. First one's named Sweet Anne-Marie, she's mine.
Everyone knows the story of the Grateful Dead's free concert at MIT in 1970, or at least they think they do. For decades, the legend has been simple. The Kent State shootings happened. Students were outraged. The Grateful Dead showed up at MIT to play a protest concert, a beautiful moment of music meeting activism. But here's the thing. The schedule for that day, published in the Tech student newspaper, included a very specific line, quote, 2 p.m., there will not be a free concert by the Grateful Dead today. So, if there wasn't supposed to be a concert, how did over 1,000 people end up watching Jerry Garcia and the band play an impromptu set on the Student Center steps? And why does almost everyone get the story wrong? The real answer involves a carefully orchestrated campus strike, a calculated invasion that had nothing to do with Kent State, and one MIT student who knew exactly how to turn a moment of political chaos into a launching pad for a sold-out show the very next night. Let's unpack what actually happened in Cambridge, Massachusetts that week, because the truth is way more interesting than the myth. To understand the Grateful Dead at MIT in 1970, you have to rewind the calendar just a little bit. On April 30th, 1970, President Richard Nixon announced something that shocked the country. The United States was invading Cambodia, dramatically escalating the Vietnam War that students had been protesting for years. The reaction was immediate. College campuses across America erupted. Students walked out of classes. Faculty canceled lectures. A nationwide university strike began building momentum. Then on May 4th, the Kent State shootings happened. 4 unarmed students killed by the Ohio National Guard. The images horrified the nation and added gasoline to an already raging fire. But here's what most people don't realize. By the time Kent State happened, MIT students were already organizing. On May 5, 1970, over 1,500 members of the MIT community packed into Kresge Auditorium for a rally. According to MIT Library's archives, they voted overwhelmingly to strike, quote, in solidarity with the national university strike. The Tech newspaper reported that the rally called for, quote, broadly based action including all faculty and administrators willing to work against the Vietnam War. Classes were suspended. Faculty were urged to be flexible about assignments. The MIT campus transformed overnight into a hub of anti-war organizing. And this is critical, as Dead Sources, a blog that extensively archives Grateful Dead history, points out in their analysis of the tech issues from that week, quote, protests had actually been building up since Nixon announced the invasion of Cambodia at the end of April, and Kent State is rarely mentioned. The strike at MIT wasn't primarily about Kent State. It was about Cambodia, about Nixon's expansion of a war that was supposed to be winding down. Kent State mattered, obviously. It was a tragedy that galvanized the movement, but the MIT strike was already in motion before those shots were fired in Ohio. So when May 6th rolled around, the first official day of the strike, the MIT campus was buzzing with activity. Leaflets everywhere, meetings in every department, students canvassing, writing letters to Congress, organizing demonstrations. And somewhere in that chaos, the Grateful Dead were about to show up. This is where Ned Lagin enters the story. Lagin was an MIT student, a musician, and someone deeply interested in the intersection of technology and sound. He was also apparently very good at making things happen. According to the Bar Gallery Archive, which houses extensive Grateful Dead memorabilia and research, Lagin, quote, helped bring the Dead to MIT's campus for this show. He had connections to the band. He knew they were touring the East Coast, and he saw an opportunity. Think about the timing. The campus is shut down for a strike, thousands of students with nowhere to go, high on political energy, looking for something to channel that intensity into. Lagin invited the Dead to come play. Not as an official concert, as an impromptu appearance during the strike. And here's where it gets clever. The schedule published in the Tech for May 6th included that now famous line, 2 p.m., there will not be a free concert by the Grateful Dead today. Was it a joke? A decoy to avoid administrative pushback? A way to build mystery? Probably all three. According to Bar Gallery's write-up, the schedule, quote, cheekily said there will not be a free concert by the Grateful Dead today. But the Dead showed up anyway. They set up on the Student Center steps, right in the heart of campus. And what happened next became legend. May 6, 1970, first day of the MIT strike, and it was cold. According to MIT Library's article summarizing coverage from the tech, the weather, quote, was not entirely conducive to an outdoor concert, but that didn't stop people from showing up. Word had spread, decoy schedule or not. Students poured out of dorms and meeting rooms. The crowd grew to over 1,000 people. The Dead launched into their set, Dancing in the Streets flowing into China Cat Sunflower flowing into I Know You Rider, Morning Dew, a long, jammy good lovin' that included what fans call a tighten up jam. Casey Jones, St. Stephen into Not Fade Away. The soundboard recording that survives runs about 88 minutes. Not a full Grateful Dead show by any stretch, but a solid high-energy set. MIT Libraries describes the scene, noting that the Dead's presence created a crowd that was, quote, a mix of righteousness, anxiety, and exhilaration. Students formed chains of dancers. The music cut through the political tension. For 90 minutes, the strike had a soundtrack. But then the cold caught up with them. MIT Libraries notes that, quote, the band eventually stopped playing because of the cold. The free show was over. Abbreviated, impromptu, but electric. And here's the question nobody was asking that afternoon. Why did the Grateful Dead really come to MIT? The very next night, May 7th, 1970, DuPont Gymnasium, also called the MIT Armory, the Grateful Dead played a full scheduled concert. 3 complete sets, an acoustic set featuring songs like Don't Ease Me In, Friend of the Devil, Deep Ellum Blues, then a set by the New Riders of the Purple Sage, Jerry Garcia's side project where he played pedal steel, then a massive electric Grateful Dead set, running nearly 3 hours in total. Cryptical envelopment into The Other One, into Cosmic Charlie, another sprawling Good Lovin' with drums, Not Fade Away into Turn On Your Love Light, with dark exploratory jams in between. The audience recordings that survive are nearly 3 hours long. It was Billy Kreutzmann's 24th birthday. The place was packed. And here's the thing, that show had been scheduled well in advance. It wasn't a response to the strike or Kent State. It was a regular tour stop. So what was the free show on May 6th really about? According to Jerry Garcia, in a 1970 interview quoted by Bar Gallery, the band was experimenting with a new format. Quote, we're going through some transitions. What we've been doing is having like an evening with the Grateful Dead. We start off with acoustic music, then New Riders, then we come on with the Electric Dead. That's exactly what happened at DuPont Gym on May 7th. But the free show the day before? That was something else. That was marketing. Think about it. The Dead roll into Cambridge for a scheduled gig at a college gym, but instead of just showing up for the paid show, they play a short, high-visibility free set in the middle of a massive student strike. Suddenly, everyone on campus knows the Dead are in town. The buzz is enormous. And when tickets go on sale, or when people hear there's a full show the next night, they're primed to show up. One student, writing in the Tech on May 12th and quoted by Dead sources, even noted the difference between the two shows. They thought the free concert was musically superior, pointing out that the paid show was for, quote, dancing purposes, while the free show was for listening. Whether or not that's true, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that the strategy worked. The DuPont Gym show was packed. The free concert generated massive goodwill. The Dead looked like they cared about the strike, about the students, about the cause, and they got paid the next night. This wasn't a one-time thing. The Grateful Dead used this exact playbook throughout the early 1970s. Free show in Central Park in New York, free shows in St. Louis, Vancouver, other college towns. Often tied to political events or campus activism, the Dead would roll into town, play a short, high-energy, free set in a public space, generate buzz, and then pack the arena for a paid show a day or two later. It was brilliant. It was idealistic and strategic at the same time. They built a reputation as a band that cared about their fans and the counterculture. And they also built a business model that ensured sold-out concerts. Sam Cutler, the Dead's road manager in 1970, and the architect of the Evening with the Dead format, was a master at this kind of thing. He understood that free shows weren't just altruism. They were investments. And MIT was a perfect case study. The campus was already in chaos. The strike gave them a ready-made audience. Ned Lagin gave them access and local credibility. The decoy schedule added mystery. And the paid show the next night was the payoff. Was the Dead's appearance at MIT political? Sure. They were playing during a strike, adding their music to a moment of anti-war activism. But was it primarily about Kent State, as the legend suggests? No, the strike was about Cambodia. and it had been building for days before Kent State happened. Was it altruistic? Probably, in part. The Dead genuinely believed in the counterculture and supporting student movements. But was it also calculated? Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. The Grateful Dead were a working band trying to build an audience in 1970. They found a way to align their ideals with their business needs. They turned political energy into musical energy, into economic sustainability. The MIT Free Show worked because it was authentic and strategic at the same time. Oh, and one more detail. According to Bar Gallery, Ned Lagin didn't just facilitate the concerts. He spent the next 3 days, quote, hanging with the boys, playing the world's first video game on the university mainframe with Jerry and Phil, showing them around the labs. The Grateful Dead and MIT's early computer culture, Jerry Garcia playing video games in a university lab in 1970, that's a whole other story. But it shows how deep the connection ran between Lagin, the band, and the MIT community. The free concert on May 6th wasn't just a protest. It was a meeting point between music, technology, activism, and smart marketing. And that's why it's remembered, not because of the myth, but because of what actually happened.